Hello, friends. So excited to be speaking to Alex today, Soul Art. He's going to tell us about himself and all the beautiful work that he's doing. I'm Michelle Hirschman, the owner of Hirschman Clinical Services. We work with folks with mental health, eating disorders, and substance abuse challenges in a coaching hat. And we go into the community to meet with folks that are struggling in their first year or so. And today we are going to be interviewing Alex, and you will be able to find all his information below, all his websites and such. Darcy's going to introduce him. I will pass the baton to you, Darcy.
Thank you, Michelle, and hi all. Introducing Alex Laughlin today of Soul Inspired Art, which focuses on reflecting the internal gifts, hidden truths of our soul and consciousness, and the most authentic aspects of ourselves through art. For many years, Alex says, I long to be seen for the person I was unknowingly denying myself to be. As I honored my psychic and channeling abilities, I began to perceive energies beyond what was once invisible, allowing me to see more deeply the gifts I was suppressing and infuse those gifts into works of art. I began to unearth more suppressed aspects of my being that craved to be seen, remember past lives, connect with spirit guides, and experience God in a more lucid way. This newfound awareness profoundly influenced my art, transforming it into a divine mirror that reflected the insights my soul needed to navigate its journey forward. Creating art in this way helped bring many hidden aspects of myself and others to the surface, unlocking new awareness that otherwise would have remained inaccessible. If something as simple as art can spark such enlightenment, healing, and empowerment, I believe this intentional form of creation could help many. And that personal experience has now led Alex to expanding out one of Alex's words for the year into sharing soul inspired art with many. And the Creative Healing Membership and Hirschman Clinical Services is excited to share and learn about more of that today. I'll hand it back to you both to start the conversation.
Yay, 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 yay. All right, Alex. So please share with us, what inspired you to do the work that you're doing?
Well, like Darcy was saying, um, art has always been an intrinsic part of my life. My parents joke and say that I came out of the womb with like a piece of paper and a pencil. Um, and I really used art unknowingly to connect with the parts of me that really wanted to be seen. I didn't realize that's what I was doing in my young adulthood. I grew up closeted for the first 16 years of my life, and so it's funny how you'll pick up on these hobbies that help you to connect with those parts that are being suppressed. And it wasn't until 2020 when because I'd had multiple spiritual experiences growing up, and it all led up to 2020 where I was like, okay, well, I really want to look at this spiritual thing that I've had these experiences about. So I was laid off, and I had the opportunity to really look into it and just had an awakening where I realized that my art was becoming a tool for me to reflect those authentic parts of me that I was suppressing for years and years and years and years. And so that's kind of what started it all. And it just has been snowball since then.
Mm, I love it. Can you share with us, I mean, the different types of work that you're doing these days, the individual and the community groups that you're
Wow.
facilitating?
So the individual things I do is I do these things called soul portraits, which essentially you and I get together for an hour
Mhm.
and I connect to the parts of you through channeling that are craving to be seen and integrated into your daily life. And then you give me about, 5 to 6 months to work on that as a painting or a drawing. But I also offer like individual or smaller channeled reading sessions. So if someone can't quite invest in a soul portrait, but still would like some custom artwork and still get a reading. I have some options for that too. And I just started doing, I created this intuitive art club. And so essentially I provide all these materials, paints, collage materials, colored pencils, markers, and I essentially lead you through a meditation in the beginning to get you connected with your inner artist and as well as your third eye, your intuition, so that we can create from a space that is creative and intuitively empowered. But I leave it up to you to create whatever you want. I'm not telling you to, I'm not teaching you any techniques unless you want that. It's really important for me to help people uh, get empowered creatively and intuitively. And so I feel it's best for you to figure out what you want to create in that space. And I just lead you through the meditation. Um, those are the big things that I'm working on right now. I'm trying not to take on too much because it's really tempting to want to keep doing more, but I notice I need to take care of my body too.
Yes.
You
You're
know.
doing these groups downtown KC, right? In Kansas City?
Yeah, Kansas City. I'm up in Liberty a lot too.
Okay.
There's this space called Sacred Creations that I am at a lot. I do readings up there first Thursdays and third Saturdays. And then yeah, sometimes in the West Bottoms as well. So yeah, in the KC metro area for sure.
Okay. And then have you done anything virtually yet with these?
Not yet. Not yet. That's a realm I'm tiptoeing in.
Mhm.
And I think I need to wait a couple months to let the energy settle of what I've created so far, but that is something that calls to me to start creating virtual spaces for people.
And you're doing this one art class every Thursday, right? One of the intuitive arts, is that?
Yep. Yep. It's going to be every Friday at Sacred Creations in Liberty. And
Okay.
it's a 2 hour experience. Yeah, and it's an open and creative space to you create whatever you want while being in alignment with your creativity and your intuition. I just think that's so important.
So you're going to move it. But I thought there was a space in downtown. Is it moving? Or is it has it always been in Liberty?
No, hasn't been. It was at Enchanted Society in the West Bottoms is where I was doing it before.
Okay.
So we're currently planning some dates ahead. Um, but the next in May, it's gonna all be in Liberty at Sacred Creations.
Wonderful. I love Sacred Creations.
Yeah, beautiful
I've
store.
interviewed Cody.
Oh,
Cody,
you have?
yeah, with human,
Ah,
she does the
she's
human
great.
design and all these great things. Um, awesome. Oh my gosh. Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about what someone would expect to receive if they did do the soul portrait?
Yes. So the experience, it's 1 hour, like I said,
Mhm.
and usually my style of channeling, it's just complete flow. There's I tell people I'm like interrupt me if you want to. Otherwise, I'm just gonna like keep going and keep rattling off here. But essentially, I am connecting with those parts of you that really want to be seen, but I also leave it open if a spirit guide or an ancestor has something important to say. And the whole intention of our time together is to, yes, reveal those aspects of yourself, but also get the base image of what the soul portrait is. So, what are the symbols? What are the images? What are the colors that perhaps are representative of the things that I channeled? And then you give me about 5 to 6 months to work on it, and it takes me about a month for the energy to settle, and then me and your spirit and your guides continue to collaborate up until the end. So as I'm working on the painting, they're they'll tell me exactly what they want me to include. So I might not get the full image in our time together. It's
Mhm.
usually revealed over time. And so after it's done, then we get together again and I type a full description of everything, all the symbolism, all the colors, all the choices that I made that were channeled through. And then you also get the certificate of authenticity. So, once I'm super famous, that's like the golden ticket right there. Um, so yeah, that's what they'll receive with the soul portrait.
Mhm. And you have some on your website, right, that people can see?
Hmm. Yes, and people can buy prints of the soul portraits that I've made as well. So if someone is really interested in a soul portrait of someone else,
Mhm.
they can also purchase that. And I'm also working towards creating a soul-inspired oracle deck. So all the soul portraits that I make will be being turned into an oracle deck that well, hopefully, I'm hoping within the next maybe 2 years that'll manifest.
You'll have enough for an oracle. That's I love that idea.
Yeah,
That's well, yeah, because it makes so much more sense. It makes a lot of sense. It's gonna be a
yeah,
powerful.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I love it too because there's a lot of oracle decks about animals or deities and things like that, and I just think it would be so cool to have an oracle deck of the wisdom of people who are alive now. You're
Mhm.
actually receiving wisdom of someone who is present and going through a lot of change at the moment and revealing a lot of things about themselves. And I love that someone else in the deck is inspiring another person too. I think that's really cool.
Yes, yes, totally. That's awesome. Um, are there any types of people that you like to work with or that you feel like may not be a good fit to work with you?
Yeah, this is a good question. Um, so I find my readings are best and best received with people who are really open about it,
Mhm.
who maybe have been walking the spiritual path for a little bit, or who are at least, curious. Um, but yeah, my readings are, I feel like sometimes we go really deep and some of the information that I channel might be hard to understand for people who might not know the lingo sometimes. I try my best to accommodate for that, but for the most part, people who are really open to it, and people who are queer or in the LGBTQIA community, because this is kind of where this is all stemmed from for me, just closeting myself as a queer individual. I know how important it is for people who are on the LGBTQ spectrum to be seen and to help kind of encourage someone to accept those parts of themselves. So I find my readings are best for people who are in that community and who are also spiritual. And then, yeah, I've had a couple of readings that haven't gone the greatest, and I realize those people just aren't quite ready yet. So people who are um, yeah, they just aren't ready to walk the spiritual path, or who say they're open but not open. Because I realize sometimes when I'm reading for someone who really isn't open, it's almost like I'm looking through a little tiny door, and I have to like look in the door, and I try to open the door gently, but it's really all dependent on them. So yeah, does that make sense? I think I was.
Yeah, I mean, if you're channeling and someone's not open, it's going to be really, it's
Yeah,
going to be dark.
yeah, yeah,
That's
exactly.
not going to be on.
Right. I've had to refuse some readings before because I just wasn't able to get anything yet. And sometimes I'm realizing too, sometimes people who say they want a reading but really aren't ready, they're not. There's been a couple times this happens where their guides are telling me they're not supposed to know certain information that I was picking up on. They're not supposed to like walk the spiritual path yet. They're just getting sort of these like micro introductions to it. So yeah.
So you spoke about the flow of art and how you came out of the womb with pen in hand. But
Mhm.
what about the channeling aspect? Because that's not something that everyone is
Yeah.
gifted.
Yeah. The
Mhm.
channeling aspect really didn't get turned on, so to speak, until 2021. But I had had numerous experiences as a child where I spoke to spirits in my house, and I had some other unique, unexplainable experiences that I didn't really know what to do with, that kept me open. Um, but 2021 is when I really started to learn, and I took a class from someone multiple times She taught how to channel, and she really helped me a lot to kind of just do the basics. And then it just evolved from there. And it was a little overwhelming at first when I started to really turn it on because it's just a lot of information at once. And I'm very sensitive and seeing a lot of different things. And so I really had to also learn how to take care of my body at the same time and know when to not be in channel too. So yeah, channeling really didn't start till 2021.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting that you need to learn how to not be in channel two. So there's like
Yeah.
an on and off switch
Yeah,
that you
for me at least, there is. Because I'm so good at coming out of the body, which is what I do in channel. I lift out and then I create a column of light that is connected to spirit. And I become the vessel for the messages. And so I literally have to come out. And it's not that I'm not in control, I'm still in control, but I'm letting the information just kind of pour through me. So I need to make space for that. And so sometimes I would forget to come back into the body after channeling, and my body would I realized that I would get depressed because the depression was like calling me back into my body. And so I tell my clients this too, who want to channel, that it's really important to find the balance and know when to come back home into the body and know how to, have a really safe process of channeling too.
okay. That makes
Mhm.
the rituals around that.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that part.
Hmm.
It was more clearly, I've spoken to other folks and you were very clear in kind of the way you were able to communicate the boundaries for yourself.
Hmm.
Mhm. So it sounds like a typical session you said is an hour. You can also do shorter sessions, like for folks that may not be able to afford the soul portrait, but they can kind of continue to work with you in these
Hmm. Yeah.
realms. Uh,
Yes.
and you have these beautiful intuitive art workshops to help build community and engage in that kind of space. Am I speaking correctly around
Yeah.
those?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's been the community part's been new because I've just been doing solo readings, doing like the mystic fairs and things like that. So the community part is very new, and I'm really excited about that and see how that grows.
Mhm.
Because something that Spirit keeps telling me is that I'm supposed to show people how I do what I do, how to create art with deep intention, and also how to use it as a tool. That's been a new thing because art, I tell people the soul portraits, they're so beautiful. They're a beautiful reflection of what is in within you that's wanting to be revealed and reflected. But it's also a tool. I say that it's kind of like a crystal, how a crystal has a very strong, immovable frequency. It's very stable. That's why it's crystal. And it's the same with these soul portraits. I literally channel your energy into this so that when you are experiencing times of self-doubt or like deep criticism or where you feel like you're just not who you are anymore, the soul portrait is such a simple tool that you get to visually engage with that will bring you back to those authentic parts of you that you just stepped away from for a moment. And so if you then you can get a little even more cool with it. If you want to channel specific energies connecting, we'll say, for example, I really want to connect to my heart and my solar plexus, and then creating the art with the intention of channeling that into something, then you have like this cool tool that you can now connect with your heart and solar plexus. So it's like possibilities are endless, but essentially what I'm saying is that's what these communities are for, is to start using your creativity to create positive things instead of creating stories, which I'm also, I work on that too. We use our creativity to create these stories in our minds that might not be true. So if we can use it to create things that are way more intentional and meaningful, I think it's helping to reprogram people and how they associate themselves with their creativity too.
I love it. You could totally do this virtually because I think people have their own supplies and you're creating kind of the ceremony and intention.
Hmm.
You can
Yeah.
send people a little
Yeah.
sample or something. Uh,
Yeah.
but I totally see that for I'm thinking about all the folks that are even in like from a colleague perspective, right? I
Mhm.
just got off a call with um a fellow therapist that's super burnt out and is really calling to a lot of these other modalities to support herself. And
Mm.
this like it gets more into the right side of the brain instead of the left, where we're
Yeah,
all aging. And so this would be so fun for a lot of mental health professionals. It'll
cool.
help them flow over here a little bit more. So
Yeah,
doing this, yeah.
yeah. I think it's really important.
Yeah.
Um, and it's really less about the art making, and it's more about getting into a flow state.
Mhm,
Because it's
mhm.
when you're in that flow state that I found the emotions and the energies that have either been suppressed or kind of been on the backlog, they get a chance to be processed with grace through art or through whatever. You can really just where, however you get into a flow state, you're allowing things to pass through that maybe have been wanting to come through. Um, and they come through with grace and ease for the most part when you're in that flow state.
Mhm.
So that's really the most important thing that I want to teach people how to do.
Yes, that is awesome. It's this like, and to put it into language to, it's like a pause state, but it's not necessarily like pausing where you can't be thinking or doing anything. But I love the vehicle of this kind of guide, the facilitation from you,
Hmm.
coupled with guided meditation and just kind of this art, this free form art that you can stick a pencil in your hand and
Yeah. Yeah.
write.
It's feminine healing too. You
Mhm,
know, we
mhm.
all need feminine healing and that does it right there because you're just letting her create and be in flow without the ego coming in and trying to control the experience, you
That,
know.
yeah, that's fresh.
Yeah.
I can imagine how healing that is for so many.
Hmm. Hmm.
Ah, well, Darcy, do you have any fun questions for Alex?
I have so many.
Oh, yay.
I'm sitting here and just like the the way that you share about your experience, Alex, I can feel how inspired you've been and also how grounded you feel really grounded when you're talking about the creative process and self-discovery. And sometimes I find both to be really ungrounding, which can be really exciting in moments and yet unsustainable
Mhm.
because the highs and the lows. It's like I can only do one or both for so long. And
Mhm.
I have some experience in art for the sake of transformation or expression versus fine arts. And it's been uh, life changing for me again and again to have this outlet of creative expression without pressure, unless it's, well, it's been self-induced pressure. Um, and I'm wondering for you, with anybody who's come your direction or that you've worked with before, if anybody's shown up with some intimidation or blocks around creating or creativity that you might speak to, because I certainly have had that. And I imagine that many people listening might be thinking, I'm just gonna put it out there. I'm not an artist, I'm not artistic, you know, I don't think I'd be eligible or qualify for this because, I can barely draw a stick figure or I'm type A or whatever. Um, so I'm wondering, could you speak to that a little bit about how you might approach that or how someone you've met with has worked through some of that intimidation to be able to access the gifts in this?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. And I will say I've been new to encountering that because I just started helping people recently within the last 2 years. So I'm still learning how to help people in that way, but what I've learned so far is there almost has to be an acknowledgement of it. Let's just put a spotlight on what's really blocking you. Because if I put the paint in front of you or the pencils and say, all right, let's just get into a flow state. They're like, well, I got a lot blocking me currently. And so an exercise that I'll do with people is we get connected with limiting beliefs.
Mm,
And so example that I use is I used to have a limiting belief that my art had to take a long time and it had to be challenging for it to be acceptable.
Mm,
And so acknowledging that, we start to call it out and it starts to loosen its grip over our creative process. And then I invite people to create an empowering belief. So the empowering belief or the opposite of that limiting belief would be my art process can take no time at all and it can be easy and be acceptable.
mm,
And I tell people too, this isn't going to be like an overnight thing. Like this is something that you'll have to work on depending on how big your blocks are. But if we can kind of connect to the softness around these hard things, because the ego almost loves to weaponize these limiting beliefs against us when we're trying something new, especially something artistic, because people feel like their art needs to be accepted in order for it to be good. And it just needs to be accepted by you. It doesn't need to be accepted by anybody else. And so that's what we have to kind of start to massage and work with and loosen. But I have found that has been a little helpful. And an exercise that I do with people as well to kind of make calm the ego, put the ego in the back seat, and to invite a flow state is we do something called intuitive sketching. And so I have the individual close their eyes. We have a piece of paper on the table, and we're just moving our hand in whatever way feels good. And there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just important for you to, move your hand, and it can look like anything. I say, if you want to draw aggressively, draw aggressively. If you want to do really soft movements, draw soft movements. But it's important for you to honor the movement and surrender to however your hand wants to move. And that seems to help too. And what's really fascinating is sometimes we'll do that and the individual will open their eyes and they've actually drawn something like
mm,
recognizable that they would not have been able to do with their eyes open. So that also kind of gives a confidence that, I mean, you literally just did this with your eyes closed and you created something. So those have been kind of the modalities and the practices that I've found have really helped.
mm,
That's what I'm struggling with. This one woman that I'm trying to encourage to come to your group. She just keeps like looping about, I'm not an artist, I'm not an artist. I'm like, and trying to kind of encourage her that this was actually is not really even about art. It's about freedom and
Yep.
community and being able to kind of relax into yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just takes an awareness too. And something I tell people in my groups is, you know, we can't reflect what we're not the vibration of. And so I use the example, the first thing that ever happened in the universe was the Big Bang. And it created everything, created all things. And so it makes sense that we're all capable of harnessing such creative power and freedom because we literally are made from creative power and freedom. Like we come from that. So, of course, we can tap into that. It just takes awareness and acknowledging what's getting in the way of that awareness.
Great. Yeah. And I think we all need so many different things to hit us to break things up that we've been downloaded
Hmm.
clear to clear
Yeah.
things up.
Yeah. And I'm still working on it too. I still have, blocks that I work through. And so, I'm not perfect by any means. I'm still discovering how my creativity wants to flow and be expressed and honoring the times when it doesn't want to be expressed either, or when when my body, like I have this new relationship with my body where I'm listening to it more. And sometimes it's telling me, hey, put the pencil down and like go take a nap, So listening when you need to rest too, when your body needs to rest before it can do activities such as creative expression.
What are you doing when you're not doing this work? Like what helps you kind of feel recharged?
Well, I love naps. I'm a napper, so I take naps for sure. Um,
You're a mapper. I'm like, what's a mapper?
well, maybe
I
I'm
need
mapping
maps.
things in my dreams, maybe. Um, but I like to organize things. So, so my process, when I get bored, that's my creativity saying we need to shift the energy. And typically, where my creativity tends to gravitate me towards when I'm not doing art is organizing things. So organize my supplies, or I'll go and organize other things in my house, which is really soothing. It also soothes my nervous system when I do that. Um, but I'll also go on like I'll country cruise. So I'll go outside of Kansas City and I'll just drive. And it's a form of meditation for me. Um, there's a myriad of other things, but that's typically what I'll do. I'll go for a long walk, just kind of get myself out of the space, be in a different space. Yeah.
Yeah, walking is definitely my jam. Um, Darcy, was there, I feel like, did we interrupt your flow? Was there something else you were gonna
I
ask?
do have another question. Yeah.
Mhm.
Uh, so I'm thinking, I have a lot of personal questions, but I'm going to save some of those. But thinking about our community and our clients, um, how could some of the process that you bring and the space that you hold work and really support some other more traditional modalities around healing and self-discovery, overcoming challenges? I'm thinking, many people are in more traditional talk therapy or are going through more extensive trauma recovery, using TMS or EMDR, or people who are in recovery communities, like 12-step related. How could some of what you offer really amplify and support some of what's already happening, and where would it maybe not be the best fit to have them overlap?
Ooh, really good question. So I'll start with the first part. So yeah, I think it would really complement what they're going through because I'm connecting to your soul, which has the blueprint of your experience. And so we can talk on a more spiritual, energetic level of what you've been through that can help to spiritually validate those experiences that you've had. And then something that I always connect with is how is what you've been through gifting you something as
Mhm.
well? Like, what's the gift in all that you've been through, and how is it really um, nurtured or not nurtured, but how has it empowered your soul to expand in consciousness? Because that's what I found a lot of souls came here to do is just expand consciousness and expand awareness. And it's in that expansion of awareness where we get to learn how to bring in new tools and gifts into our being. And so I can see in that way people who have gone through some really traumatic things or are going working through things if they want a spiritual energetic perspective of what's going on that can help to validate that. um, I could see how that would be really helpful. Now, where it might not be helpful for somebody is if they're still really ungrounded and they're like if they're really like had just freshly come out of a traumatic experience or working through something has like PTSD, that this information might not be helpful. I realize the information is really well received when someone is grounded and maybe has gone through a bit of healing. This is kind of like a nice little cherry on top experience, I think, rather than fresh out of their experience, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
really helpful. Thank you. For anybody,
yeah.
regardless if there's something that's more intense treatment or phase of life is happening. But there's some certain periods that, like, I'm definitely more grounded than others.
Mhm.
And so knowing that ahead of time. Um, is there anybody that you are feeling really inspired around supporting or excited to call in to some of your either personal projects or group events?
Thank you. All these juicy questions. Yeah, I would love to call in more LGBTQ youth, and those really struggling with identity. My heart is just right there with them. But really just anyone who feels like they're closeting aspects of their authenticity, people who maybe who are people pleasers. I'm a recovering people pleaser. So those types of people I love working with. That's really exciting. And what was the last? Oh, and the groups too. Yeah, I would love to call in people who are intimidated by art making or any creative processes. Just because they're in a really great spot to transform into their creativity or creative process. I always tell people when you're your most nervous or scared about something, that's like a really great spot because it means you're coming outside of your comfort zone, your boundaries here. So I like to hopefully ease them into more of outside of their comfort zone a little bit. So yeah. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm. Love it. Yeah, those
Thank
are
you.
juicy questions, Darcy.
Yeah.
They're definitely a love language for me, just the questions. I was like, if we can like really get in there with just discovery, and especially with kindred spirits like you who can dive deep. Um,
Mhm.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's quite exciting. It's really fun. It really fulfills me, and I just love being a mirror for people. Is if we take the channeling out of it, we take all that out of it. Really, I really feel like I'm just being a mirror for people, and so really, it's like or I say I'm a mirror, but I also say I'm a translator. Like I'm a translator of the parts that maybe you can't connect with. So all the things that I'm connecting to are you. Like none of it's me. Like I'm just the vessel, I'm just the mirror, I'm just the translator. And so it's my hope that people recognize that and they're just being inspired by themselves through the messages that are coming through me. Because none of it is me. It's all you. And that's what I tell people when they get their soul portraits. It's like, yeah, I made this and this is my lens of you, but I was connecting with information that was your soul. So I love like helping people to get inspired by themselves at the same time. That's really what I'm trying to get people to understand and put the power back in their hands rather than I feel like there's this like, and I sometimes do this, there's this almost need to reach and grab out and like I need help or I need saving and it's like, well, let me reflect to you what I'm seeing within you so that you can connect to your own internal resources to inspire the healing that you're so craving to reach out and grab yourself, you know?
So great.
Hmm. I want to come visit
Yeah.
Sacred,
Well,
all
what'd
the
you
things
say?
happening at Sacred Creations. I was like, I want to come visit in person.
Yeah, you need to come fly out and hang out.
We
Um,
do. We need to have Darcy fly out. She needs to do all the things. Yeah.
yeah, it's such a vast community over here. I keep getting surprised about the practitioners here, and it just seems to be evolving, and everybody has their own unique flavor of what they do. And I'm like, oh my, I feel like this is like the Avengers hub here in Kansas City. It's like so
It
many
is.
people.
I feel like even more so than LA because I'm like turning all the corners of LA and different cities, but like Kansas City just keeps people are coming out. I think they've been here all along and they're like finally,
Yeah.
you know, flying their wings or just kind of showing their colors, but it's been a beautiful ride meeting all these people that are just like so resourcing for me personally and just
Mm.
for the community. And there a lot of them are in Liberty.
Yeah. Yes.
Park a little bit and
Well, I think of well, we're kind of in the heartland, and I think there's something to that too.
Mhm.
If we talk about, I don't know if this is a thing, but it's cool to think about if North America has chakras, the Americas have chakras. I feel like we're in the heart chakra of the Americas, so to speak. but I don't know about that. But it's interesting to think about it in that way, you know?
I actually haven't thought about that because everyone's like, where did you move?
Yeah, yeah.
I just there, but now I'm gonna tell them I'm in hard country.
Yeah, yeah. It was actually my original plan to move out to LA to had a theater degree. Um, but something just kept me here and now I know why. Yeah.
Awesome. Darcy, anything else before we wrap this up?
Beyond your website, which is just really beautiful and inviting, by the way,
Thank
is
you.
there anywhere else that you'd like anyone listening or watching back to go check out?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. My handle is Soul Inspired Artist. And then same as my Tik, I do TikTok as well. So I'm Soul Inspired Artist there too.
I'll add that too. That'll be good.
Well,
Well, we appreciate,
we'll
go
put
ahead.
that in with this recording and the episode so everyone can come find you.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you.
Hey, well, we so appreciate you coming on and I'm excited to personally go to your workshops and send people your way. So needed. There's not a lot of creative workshops like that. So thank you.
Mhm. Yeah.
1,000.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I love speaking about this stuff. And so you're seeing me, which feels so good. And so I appreciate you taking the time to allow me to share what I do.
Thank you.
Yeah.